If you think you should be able to own any gun accessory you want, like and subscribe because I'm in agreement with you. Good afternoon and welcome to Lawyered Up. My name is Patrick McGinn. I'm a Florida trial attorney and former police officer. I try to bring you firearms related information, Second Amendment information from around Florida and around the world. So welcome to my FRT video, the force reset trigger. Big topic of conversation lately on the interwebs. Fortunately, I do not have any clients who have force, or at least claim to have force reset triggers. I've only been asked one question, and that was related to the patent case going on between a certain Florida gun dealer and a certain trigger maker, what I thought about that case. And I can sum my thoughts up really quickly in that case. Is I don't have any thoughts about that case. That is a patent case, an intellectual property case. I know absolutely nothing about intellectual property. I don't really want to know anything about intellectual property. From what I've experienced in the past, intellectual property is perhaps the most boring area of law I've ever seen, and I would think I would just drive myself nuts if I even got into it. That being said, it's an important area of law, but that's for other attorneys. Turning your attention to what's going on with the ATF and the current decisions, I'm very well aware of the NYSERPA versus Bruin decision. I've read it several times, as well as West Virginia versus EPA, and we can argue to the cows come home about what is constitutional and what is unconstitutional. In my humble opinion, force reset triggers are not machine guns. They don't meet the definition of machine guns. It's plain and simple. The problem is the government apparently doesn't at this time agree with us. So let me start out by saying this. Legal advice comes from lawyers, and your legal advice comes from your lawyer, and that's not me. I am a Florida lawyer. I have no clients involved, to my knowledge, in the force reset trigger issue, and no issues with clients in ATF and related to that type. And I have no clients who have issues with ATF related to that topic. That being said, hypothetically, should a client come to me, a Florida client come to me as their lawyer and ask me, what should I do with this force reset trigger that I have? Here would be my advice to them. Not my advice to you, but my advice to my hypothetical client. The issue when dealing with law enforcement is universal. Cops, whether it's the ATF, the FBI, your city police, game wardens, grouper troopers, highway patrol, whatever. Cops are trained to make arrests, investigate and make arrests. That's their sole life. It's like an alligator. Alligators only eat. Cops only investigate and make arrests. That's what they're trained to do. That's how they're evaluated. That's how their performance is measured. One thing I always tell my clients is when you're dealing with law enforcement, you do not know what law enforcement knows. You do not know what they're up to or how they are going to react. So if my hypothetical client came to me and said, hey, I have this force reset trigger, what should I do? Or I received this letter from ATF, what should I do? Under the current state of the law, the government has determined, whether it's rightful or not, that force reset triggers are machine guns. And the possession of a machine gun is a federal felony, punishable by up to 10 years. Possession is the key. The way to defeat or get around possession is depossession. You must depossess yourself of a forced reset trigger. So how do you do that? The easiest and probably the best way to do that is through destruction, through documented destruction. And let me dive into that about the documentation. It should be video recorded and it should be preserved, but it should not be preserved on your phone or any device which is connected to the internet. I would put it on a CD, put it on a thumb drive, put it on a scan disk card, but make sure you do not have it on your phone, because if you have it on your phone and they gain knowledge that you have it on your phone and they get authorization to seize or search your phone, there may be other things on your phone that you do not want the government to see, and the easiest way for them to get that information is to get access to your cloud, develop probable cause, and then come after your phone. So keep it off your phone. I would go even as far as disconnecting my phone from service, or disconnecting it from at least the iCloud and the internet. Make the recording, or better yet, get a camera that's, get an old-fashioned digital camera and do it. But if you do it on your iPhone or your Android phone, I would go as far as disconnecting it from the iCloud so that information does not go to the cloud, to a third party, and get it off your phone as soon as possible and keep it preserved. That being said, when dealing with any law enforcement, I strongly advise all my clients, do not engage with law enforcement directly. If you get a letter or you get an invitation to come down and speak to law enforcement, always decline that. And I know, because I've been law enforcement, I've used those tactics, I know how well they work. And when I get many clients all the time who voluntarily speak to law enforcement and talk themselves into trouble. During my tenure in law enforcement, the interviews and the confessions I've taken, in many years, I have never seen a client talk themselves out of handcuffs, but I have seen many defendants talk their way into handcuffs. So never deal directly with law enforcement. Use your attorney as a buffer between you and law enforcement. So the bottom line, if my hypothetical client did not know of my existence, and my first advice to my hypothetical client is to hire a lawyer, if that lawyer happens to be me, I would tell them, dispossess yourself of this article, preserve the documentation that you dispossessed yourself. Do not respond to invitations to hang yourself from law enforcement. Do not respond to invitations to get yourself in trouble from law enforcement. Ignore those invitations. Contact your lawyer immediately. Let your lawyer deal with the ATF or any law enforcement agency. That being said, I think that covers the topic. As far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of good videos out there, a lot of good videos from lawyers about this issue, a lot of good advice, but I caution you, take your advice from your lawyer, not from somebody talking on the internet, not from somebody who's a gun tuber, not for somebody who's just touching upon the topic and giving you their opinion. Take the advice of your lawyer who is in your jurisdiction, who is best able to assist you. The largest part of my law practice, or the overwhelming goal of my law practice, is to make sure that nothing bad happens to you. Keep you out of trouble, keep you out of prison, keep you out of jail. Because if you get yourself in a bind dealing with law enforcement, the overwhelming goal of my law practice is and always has been to help people and to keep people from making mistakes and getting themselves into unnecessary trouble. And that's how I guide myself in my law practice, is looking out for you. So let me look out for you, my hypothetical client. I can't stress enough, do not speak directly to law enforcement. Always speak through a lawyer. And when it comes to this issue, dispossession or depossession is the game. Until we reach a certain time in the jurisprudence of this issue where we can move forward, that is the name of the game as it is right now. And the arguments for and against, don't make those in a criminal case. You never want to be the test case in a criminal action. Do all that in civil court, not in criminal court. It's expensive, it's extremely stressful, and it can just absolutely ruin your life financially, and it can ruin your marriage, it can ruin your relationships. Criminal actions just can wreak havoc on your life, and they can be life-changing. Let me help you. Do not, and I stress again, deal directly with law enforcement. I hope I've made that clear enough. Thank you for joining me on Lawyered Up. This is a very passionate issue, something I am completely passionate about, is getting that information out there. If I only get one piece of information through to you, that piece of information is never deal directly with law enforcement. Never speak to law enforcement directly. Always speak through your lawyer. Thank you for joining me on Lawyered Up. This is one time where it's serious. You definitely need to lawyer up. I can't stress that enough. I am Patrick McGeehan. I'm a Florida trial attorney, and I look out for my clients, and my #1 goal is protecting you.